The old general, having committed countless acts of slaughter, is foretold by a sage that his progeny shall not survive beyond the age of 20. He has but one son, the young General Han Linfeng. The sole remedy lies in marrying a woman reborn from a virtuous soul of 10 lifetimes, thereby securing her blessings for a peaceful conclusion. In a previous life, my cousin was married off in my stead, and I created a tumultuous scene at the wedding, adamantly declaring myself the legitimate daughter of the Wen family. The one predicted to be the virtuous soul of 10 lifetimes. Ultimately, with the old general's backing, I succeeded in marrying Han Linfeng. However, upon returning home, my cousin fell victim to robbers, suffering indignities that led to her demise, all while bearing 2 months' pregnancy. Enraged, my parents disowned me, expunging my name from the family lineage. Yet Han Linfeng remained steadfast in his affection, vowing to care for me eternally, which filled my heart with gratitude. But, as I entered my 2nd month of pregnancy, he cruelly cut open my abdomen, extracting our bloodied child. Do you not realize that Shuru carries my child? You have severed the bond of our family, condemning us to eternal separation, and yet you still harbor fantasies of birthing my flesh and blood? I hold no belief in retribution, nor do I care whether you are indeed the virtuous soul of 10 lifetimes. You have caused the death of my Shuru. I shall witness the depths of your malevolence. In that moment, I was mercilessly stripped of my heart, resulting in my demise. Upon opening my eyes, I found myself back on the day my cousin was wed in my place. Since you are so unable to discern good from evil, let us sever all ties once and for all. 1. Clad in a resplendent crimson bridal gown, I made my way directly to the general's residence. The guests surrounding me whispered and pointed, their gazes laden with curiosity. The venerable general, poised to partake in the ceremonial tea with his bride, caught sight of me at once. I knelt gracefully at a distance, neither servile nor defiant. General Han, I am Wen Linlang, the legitimate daughter of the Wen family, here to fulfill my betrothal. The general's brow furrowed, and he hastened down the steps to assist me. My parents, upon noticing my presence, were taken aback, rushing forward to shield me. Just as they prepared to speak, Han Linfeng descended the platform, kneeling before the general. Father, my heart belongs solely to Shuru. I wish to marry her alone. I do not heed prophecies. They are mere superstition. I shall turn 20 next year and live a prosperous life to prove it. Do not sacrifice my lifelong happiness for unfounded tales. With these words, I realized that Han Linfeng had also been reborn. In his previous life, he had merely cowered behind the general, following orders. This time, he stepped forth to defend the one he cherished. Though I was aware of his indifference towards me, the sight of my former husband stirred an unbearable ache within my heart. The general, incensed, raised his hand and struck Han Linfeng across the face. Rebellious son, my friend the master would never deceive me. Today, you must wed the legitimate daughter of the Wen family. It was under the iron fist of the general that Han Linfeng had been compelled to take a new bride, me, in his past life. At this moment, when Shuru lifted her veil, tears brimming in her eyes as she knelt before her parents. Father, mother, I implore you to grant me my union with the young general. My sister does not love him. She beseeches me to marry in her stead. I have fallen head over heels for the young general. I shall marry none but him. Upon hearing this, my father swiftly delivered a stinging slap to my face. Shameful. You do not wish to wed, yet you stir up trouble for me. I should have anticipated that my cousin's decision to marry in my stead was not solely her own. Without her parents' backing, how could she so easily arrive at the general's residence to wed? I had been frail since childhood, taken to a temple by my master at the tender age of 1. My stepmother, observing my parents' lack of sons, had presented her daughter to them for nurturing. My cousin was raised by them. It appeared that my blood ties paled in comparison to my parents' 18 years of nurturing Shuru. However, they could not cast their murky deeds upon me, for I was not a soft persimmon to be easily manipulated. I covered my face, tears streaming down. Father, when did I ever express a desire not to marry? It was my cousin who brought me a calming soup last night, and after consuming it, I slept soundly until noon, only to awaken to find the house deserted. If my cousin wishes to marry the young general, I would not dare to obstruct her. But the marriage contract bears my name, and today is my wedding day. If she desires to wed, why does she not use her own identity?
2.
My parents likely did not anticipate that the submissive daughter they once knew would now dare to speak back. Their expressions were filled with astonishment, momentarily at a loss for words. The general's residence had shown interest in the daughter of a fifth-rank official solely because I was deemed the reincarnation of a virtuous soul prophesied by the master. Only I could ensure the young general's prosperous fate. My cousin, wringing her red handkerchief and biting her crimson lip, stammered, "Sister, there are matters I had not intended to disclose. You told me last night that you had your heart set on another suitor and had already made a private vow. I could not bear to see you weeping, so I resolved to marry in your place. We have already performed 3 vows to heaven and earth, completing all rituals. To now retract my marriage would tarnish my reputation. I might as well die in despair." The spectators, upon hearing her words, regarded me with disdain and contempt. A noble lady, engaging in such scandalous behavior. No wonder she would dare to seize a wedding. An ordinary woman would weep at home rather than attempt to disrupt a union at the general's residence. To have privately pledged her troth yet still claim to wed the young general? Han Linfeng swiftly embraced the feigning cousin, vowing never to marry me. A triumphant smile graced her lips. I had merely intended to exploit this discord to delineate my boundaries with my parents and Han Linfeng. Little did I expect Wenshuru to publicly slander me in this manner. Henceforth, I would not hold back. With a cold smirk, I retorted, "Cousin, I have observed your recent bouts of nausea. If you dare to assert that I have already made a private vow, might I then conclude that you have been deflowered and are with child?" At once, Wenshuru's complexion drained of color, and Han Linfeng instinctively furrowed his brow. Whether I had made such a vow was ambiguous. However, your condition could easily be ascertained by a physician. Is there a doctor present who would be willing to assist? Should I be mistaken, I would willingly kneel before my cousin to apologize. Immediately, a hand was raised. "I can examine the bride for signs of pregnancy." "I am at your service, General." Panic overtook Wenshuru, and she instinctively recoiled behind Han Linfeng. Just as the elder physician prepared to approach and examine Wenshuru, the general bellowed, "Nonsense." The physician promptly retreated to his original position. The general's piercing gaze swept over the assembly, his presence emanating authority born from a life steeped in bloodshed. Silence enveloped the room. The general spoke with unwavering conviction. "Today, I care not for private vows or pregnancies. My son shall marry only the legitimate daughter of the Wen family." With that, he turned his gaze directly upon Wenshuru. "Since you are a cousin of the Wen family, you shall retire to partake in the feast." Upon hearing this, Wenshuru, already in tears, clung to Han Linfeng's arm. Nearly collapsing, Han Linfeng knelt once more. "Father, I will marry no one but Wenshuru. If I cannot be with the one I love in this life, what meaning does living hold? I would rather die." The general, infuriated, clutched his chest and cursed, "You ungrateful wretch." My father, gritting his teeth, addressed the general with a bow. "General, I must confess, you are unaware of certain truths. Although it is publicly stated that Wenshuru is the child raised by my sister, she is, in fact, our own flesh and blood." My mother, upon hearing this, nodded vigorously. "Indeed, Wenshuru is the legitimate daughter of the Wen family. This Wen Linlang is but an adopted child." Relief was palpable on Wenshuru's face. Han Linfeng, despite knowing the truth, pressed his lips tightly together. "Years ago, we had given birth to her. My sister, seeing her joy, took her to raise. It was only when she was 2 years old that she was returned to us. Otherwise, how could she bear the Wen surname? This Wen Linlang is the daughter of a dear friend. We have merely been caretakers. She had only recently come to dwell with us, and the neighbors could attest to this." 3. I was taken aback by the lengths my parents would go to protect Wenshuru. They would even exchange our identities. Just how dearly did they cherish her? The general, astonished, could hardly fathom the truth. For a moment, he was speechless. One by one, voices began to emerge from the crowd. "The Lord Wen speaks the truth. Wenshuru has indeed grown up in the Wen household, while this Wen Linlang has only recently arrived. I too could attest that Wenshuru was the one we had watched grow up, and she indeed resembled the legitimate daughter of the Wen family. In an instant, I transformed from the legitimate daughter of the Wen family to their adopted daughter, a status confirmed by my own parents. Biting my lip fiercely, the metallic taste of blood flooded my mouth, yet I regained a semblance of composure. This was not the time for sorrow. They were unworthy of my emotional turmoil. I needed to remember the purpose of my presence here. Raising my head, I caught sight of my parents' evasive eyes. In light of this, I would sever ties with the Wynn family today, declaring that from this day forth, we are no longer connected in life or death. I implore all present to witness this. What do you mean? My parents exclaimed simultaneously. I wish to sever our relationship. I reiterated coldly. I will not allow it. My father exclaimed, waving his sleeve in indignation. Their insistence on distancing themselves from me, labeling me as the daughter of a friend, perplexed me. Now that I had chosen to comply with their wishes and decisively cut ties, why were they displeased? I am but the daughter of an old acquaintance, not your own flesh and blood. Why must you insist on keeping me by your side? Where shall you go upon leaving the Wynn residence? My dear child, today's circumstances compel us. In the future, we shall treat you generously, ensuring that you, as our adopted daughter, do not suffer. My mother gazed at me with tear-filled eyes, offering her heartfelt consolation. To my surprise, Han Lin Feng chose this moment to speak. As a frail woman unfamiliar with the ways of Bianjing, it would be wise for you to remain at the Wynn family estate. If you truly wish to marry me, once Shuru bears a child, I shall take you as a concubine. Shuru is known for her generosity and compassion, and she will not make things difficult for you. When Shuru regarded me with a sorrowful gaze, I truly could not fathom the audacity of Han Lin Feng. The vengeance for my and my child's tragic demise in the previous life remains unfulfilled, and now he expects to take me as a concubine in this life? Such a delusion. I would rather marry a farmer than become a noble concubine. I bit out those 8 words defiantly. Han Lin Feng's expression darkened, his gaze fixed on me with disappointment. Just as we found ourselves at an impasse, a nonchalant voice interjected, suggesting that there was no need for such a dramatic severance of ties. I looked up to find myself meeting the gaze of Gu Qinbei, the heir of the Huai Wang. He observed me with a teasing glint in his eye. As the saying goes, a married daughter is like spilled water. You might as well find someone to marry. To be honest, I had considered marriage, but after being betrayed by Han Lin Feng in my previous life, I had lost all faith in the institution. In my hesitation, the young lord declared, "This prince is in need of a princess. You seem like a suitable adopted daughter. Why not marry me?" I was taken aback by the earnestness in Gu Qinbei's eyes. Who could forget that he was known for his flirtations and frequent visits to brothels? At 28, he had failed to find a suitable noblewoman willing to wed him. Just as I was about to refuse, the young lord insisted. It would be a great honor for the young lady. Why not arrange a time to visit my humble abode? My father, with a beaming smile, readily accepted. I did not ask you, I asked her. Gu Qinbei remained unflinching, not even bothering to glance at my father. His fan pointed directly at me. I refuse. I will not marry. The words escaped my lips unbidden. For my father, enraged by my defiance and refusal of a royal suitor, raised his hand to strike me. I closed my eyes, yet the slap never came. When I opened them, I saw Gu Qinbei firmly gripping my father's wrist. Lord Wen, how generous of you, to be so willing to part with your own daughter. My father sheepishly lowered his hand. Young lord, this is the general's residence, not a brothel for your amusements. Han Lin Feng remarked coldly. Who says I'm here for amusement? If she agrees to marry me, I shall wed her tomorrow. I want to see if the prophecy holds true, whether you will live to see another day. Gu Qinbei's flippant demeanor only served to darken Han Lin Feng's expression. However, I had no desire to entangle myself further with him, turning to return home. Upon arriving, I discovered the front door ajar. Clearly, a robber had already paid a visit. In my previous life, I found it peculiar that a robber dared to approach an official's residence, and this time, I yearned to uncover the truth. Just as I was about to step inside, a deep voice called from behind, "My lady, I've missed you dearly these past days." A pair of large hands seized my shoulders. I instinctively screamed, "Help! Help!" In an instant, the man was hurled away. Turning, I saw Gu Qinbei pinning the brute down. His demeanor transformed from that of a carefree rogue to one of righteous authority. In broad daylight, you dare to harm the daughter of an official? Do you seek death? Please spare me. I came looking for my fiancée, the young lady of the Wen family, Wen Shuru. I gestured for Gu Qinbei to release him. Was this the robber who had killed my sister in the past? After conversing with the man, I realized Wen Shuru had orchestrated a grand scheme. A plan began to take shape in my mind, and after discussing it with the brute, we reached a mutual agreement. Gu Qinbei regarded me with newfound respect, clearly surprised that even the most benevolent of souls could devise such a flawless scheme to harm others. How did you know of my affairs? I felt gratitude swell within me for his escort home, my tone softening. Have you truly considered becoming my princess? Marrying me means you will learn everything. I am fully prepared, only lacking a bride. Gu Qinbei resumed his nonchalant demeanor. If you dare to marry, I shall dare to wed. The next day, I found myself, as if in a dream, becoming Gu Qinbei's bride. Han Linfeng and Wen Shuru arrived together at the Huaiwang's residence for the ceremony. Wen Shuru appeared radiant with joy. Upon seeing Gu Qinbei, Han Linfeng disdainfully remarked, I told you that prophecy was nonsense. The young lord is no match for me in health. And being a few years my elder, I wonder when he will meet his end. Wen Shuru, covering her mouth, laughed heartily. Rumor has it the young lord has taken nearly 900 concubines over the years. Your sister's courtyard must be quite lively. I smirked, tugging at the red silk sash on my dress, signaling Gu Qinbei to hasten with the vows. Ceremony complete. A voice called out, and the crowd erupted in applause. Suddenly, a commotion broke out. Han Linfeng clutched his chest and collapsed to the ground. Wen Shuru rushed to support him. What is wrong? General, please do not frighten me. Han Linfeng struggled to point toward my direction. When Linling, save me. He finally believed that the prophecy of not marrying me would lead to his demise was no mere superstition. 5. Gu Qinbei wrapped his arm around my shoulders, attempting to shield me as we turned to leave. However, the old general abruptly blocked our path. Miss Wen, I implore you, for the sake of old grievances, please save my child. I had no choice but to lift my veil and, hand in hand with Gu Qinbei, approach Han Linfeng. At that moment, his face was ashen, beads of sweat cascading down his forehead. When Shuru anxiously dabbed at his brow with a handkerchief, the old general approached and kicked Wen Shuru down. It is all you're doing, you enchantress. You have bewitched my son. If you are the legitimate daughter of the Wen family, why did my child suddenly fall today? My parents stood frozen in shock, paralyzed by the unfolding scene. When Shuru cried, covering her face, the lineage of a child is determined by their parents. I am but a frail woman. What do I know? The old general cast a piercing glance at my parents, who were drenched in cold sweat. Han Linfeng coughed, spitting out a large pool of blood. The old general quickly embraced him. Child, hold on. Then he turned to me, pleading earnestly, Wen Linling, we have wronged you. We betrothed you, but married your cousin instead. If you would save my child, I will grant you any request. I raised an eyebrow. Old general, you understand that to save your son, I must marry him, but I am now the Huaiwang's princess. This complicates matters, does it not? The old general replied. What difficulty is there? As long as you agree to remarry, I shall concede to any demands from the Huaiwang's residents or your family. Gu Qinbei scoffed. On what grounds? To save your son. Do you expect me to sacrifice my perfect union with Linling? Just yesterday, she was donned in bridal attire, eager to wed your son. Have you forgotten his words? Han Linfeng had lamented that without marrying his true love, what purpose was there in living? Now that his wish had been fulfilled, perhaps he was pleased. The old general's face darkened, recalling his son's previous statements, and fell silent. Yet Han Linfeng persisted. Confronted with death, he was truly afraid, gripping his father's robe tightly. He struggled to speak. Linling, I beg you, save me. I was wrong. I pondered for a moment. The ceremony between the young lord and me has already been completed. While I may not possess my cousin's talent for leveraging others' identities, I believe her words hold truth. To break off an engagement is to ruin a woman's reputation. It would be better to die than to suffer such disgrace. Upon hearing this, Han Linfeng ceased to speak, closing his eyes as a single tear fell. As we prepared to depart, the old general suddenly knelt behind us with a thud. The elderly warrior, who had spent the majority of his life on the battlefield, bent his back and spoke. Miss Wen, I am acutely aware of my son's transgressions against you. However, at this moment, you are his only hope. He is my sole child. I implore you, devise a means to save him. I exchanged a glance with Gu Qinbei before slowly turning away. Gu Qinbei interjected. She is my consort. To ask her to remarry is tantamount to my death. I continued. Aside from marrying me, there exists another solution. I recall my master once mentioning that such a fate is typically wrought from the grievances of wandering spirits. To save oneself, there remains but one method. The old general and Han Linfeng's eyes sparkled with renewed hope. One must take the heart's blood of their beloved and offer it at the mass grave, personally honoring it for 3 days and nights. Though the young general may not return to his former self, he can be spared his life. Upon hearing this, the old general exhaled in relief. Immediately, someone nearby presented a dagger and a bowl. Han Linfeng's feeble gaze turned to Wenshuru. Shuru, you must come quickly.
Yet.
Wenshuru, paralyzed by fear, retreated, clutching her arms. No, no. Will he still live after taking the heart's blood? After a moment, she seemed to recall something. Han Lang, I am still with child. How can I provide heart's blood? Han Linfeng regarded Wenshuru with disappointment. The old general, incensed, ordered her to be forcibly restrained to take the blood. Gu Qinbei shielded me as we departed. As Han Linfeng observed my retreating figure, memories of our past life flooded his mind. My meticulous care during his illness, his frequent temper tantrums, believing I hindered his lifelong bond with Wenshuru. Often, when he saw the meals I prepared for him, he would unleash his fury, discarding them entirely. He humiliated me, claiming my cooking was fit only for dogs. I toiled to perfect my culinary skills, often scalding my fingers. There was a time when Han Linfeng himself fell ill, enduring 3 days and nights of relentless fever. The physician warned that if it persisted, dire consequences would ensue. It was I who doused him with cold water to bring down his temperature, holding him close until he cooled down. Ultimately, he was saved, but I succumbed to a chill and developed a cough. Vivid scenes from my past life played like lanterns before his eyes. Suddenly, he felt foolish for mistaking a false gem for a true pearl, having devoted himself to the hypocritical Wenshuru. After taking her heart's blood, Wenshuru wept profusely. The old general, unwilling to delay any further, hastened with Han Linfeng to the mass grave. Yet, Wenshuru cowered behind. I shall not go. As a frail woman, I am terrified of the mass grave. The old general, no longer willing to indulge her, left her behind and departed swiftly. It was said that after that incident, Han Linfeng did indeed preserve his life. Yet he remained exceedingly frail, requiring assistance even to walk. Observing his condition, Wenshuru was filled with disdain. The old general's anger flared at the sight of her. Yet he considered that she might be carrying Han Linfeng's only child, thus the general's household continued to provide for her generously. After their marriage, I inquired of Gu Qinbei how he knew so much about me. He merely smiled gently and said it was for me to remember in my own time. That rogue. He deceived me. 6 months later, I never anticipated crossing paths with Han Linfeng again. That day, I had just returned from the temple to the prince's residence when I spotted a figure standing at the entrance, snow piled high on his shoulders, suggesting he had been there for quite some time. I intended to bypass him, but to my surprise, he seized my wrist. Turning back, I found it was Han Linfeng, now gaunt and skeletal, his eyes sunken. Upon seeing me, a peculiar light ignited in his gaze. Lin Lang, is it truly you? I thought I was dreaming. I yanked my arm away. Han Linfeng, show some respect. I am now the prince's consort. His expression was one of hurt as he stammered, Gu Qinbei. Does he treat you well? Hearing this name brought a smile to my lips. My marriage to him was merely a means to escape the Wen family, to distance myself from my heartless parents. I discovered that he was not the debauched scion the world painted him to be. His father, the Huai Wang, was feared by the emperor, forcing him into a facade of propriety. He often lingered in brothels, yet only encountered virtuous courtesans. The so-called concubines remained in the manor, serving as maidservants. With this revelation, I met his gaze directly. My husband treats me exceedingly well. Han Linfeng appeared visibly crushed, stumbling as he did so. I ignored him, preparing to enter the residence, but he grasped my sleeve tightly, saying, Lin Lang, I miss you. I could scarcely believe my ears. Furrowing my brow, I pulled my sleeve back. Young general, have you had too much to drink? Your wife is near her time. Why come to me with such sentiments? His expression twisted in pain as he sank into memories. Lin Lang, you may not know, in our past life, we were indeed husband and wife. And we had a lovely child. His self-proclaimed depth of feeling made me want to retch. I interrupted, so, you killed my child, ripping him from me. You extracted my heart, wanting to see if it was black. Am I right? I am also curious. What color is my heart? Is it black? Are you satisfied? Young general? Upon hearing my words, Han Linfeng sat in disbelief on the ground. Realization dawned upon him as he murmured, "So, you too have been reborn. You never intended to marry me from the start. You are here for revenge." I nodded in satisfaction. Who would marry you after seeing through your true self? I am a virtuous person, not a fool. At that moment, an unexpected figure entered my line of sight, swiftly positioning himself between Han Linfeng and me. Upon closer inspection, it was Gu Chunbei, his face a mask of controlled fury as he glared at Han Linfeng. "What do you want now, Spectre? Do you wish to steal my wife?" I found his protective demeanor amusing and tugged at his sleeve. "I bought you some red date and hibiscus cake. Let us go eat. You should not wander off like this. I worry for you." Han Linfeng watched as I leaned into Gu Chunbei's embrace, his eyes reddening. It dawned on me that everything had irrevocably changed. I turned back to Han Linfeng, a smile gracing my lips. "The grand gift I promised you is on its way. It will surely astonish you." Before long, a grave incident unfolded in Bianjing. On the night of the general's wife giving birth, robbers broke into the residence. Chaos ensued. When Shuru struggled to deliver her child, while the physician and midwife, alarmed by the increasing bloodshed, were in a state of panic. The old general fought valiantly alongside the household soldiers. The robber leader shouted, "That is my child. You, general's household, have taken my wife, and now seek to take my child?" The old general, stricken with fury, nearly collapsed, only to be supported away by nearby soldiers. The robbers stormed into the room where Wenshuru was giving birth, causing the physician, midwife, and maidservants to scatter in fear. Trembling with terror, Wenshuru cried out, "Do not come any closer." The robber leader, grinning maliciously, responded, "My dear, we meet again. Please do not approach. This is our child." She pleaded, "How could I not come? You deceived me, masquerading as a nobleman. I never loved you. I was ensnared by your charms. Now I am the general's wife. Leave, and I can offer you wealth. Anim Fing, sabe me. Save me and the child." When Shuru screamed in anguish. Unbeknownst to her, Han Linfeng had struggled to the door, initially intent on risking everything to save them both. However, upon hearing her words, his belief shattered. This child was not his. Weakness overtook him, and he collapsed to the ground. Then, screams echoed from within. When Shuru's abdomen was brutally opened, and the cries of the child echoed in the air. The robbers erupted in cheers. They seized the child and swiftly made their escape. It was only upon encountering that bandit that I learned my cousin was, in fact, carrying his child. He genuinely yearned for the infant. However, once my cousin discovered his true identity, she ceased all contact with him, prompting him to take desperate measures to seek her out. Thus, I divulged to him whom my cousin had married and when she was due, urging him to reclaim his child. The old general was roused from his slumber. Yet Han Linfeng appeared utterly dazed. Upon learning the circumstances, the general bellowed, "The Wen family has gone too far." In a fit of rage, he submitted 3 memorials to impeach my father. The old general was already a venerable figure across 3 dynasties, and the emperor took this matter very seriously. To appease the veteran statesman, my father was ultimately imprisoned. When my mother sought me out, I was leisurely brewing pear blossom tea in the courtyard. I made her stand for 3 hours before I lazily emerged to meet her. "Linling, I beg you, you are now the crown prince's consort. Only you can save your father," my mother implored, her eyes reddened with urgency. I replied, "If you could spare some silver. Wouldn't it make your father's time in prison more bearable? Why must you plead with me? I am merely your adopted daughter." I emphasized the term adopted daughter with weight. My mother, filled with regret, could not stop her tears from flowing as she spoke in a choked voice. "Linling, it is our parents who have wronged you. You do not understand. We entrusted the management of our household to your cousin long ago. But this traitor has embezzled all our funds to benefit your aunt." I replied with an air of nonchalance, "Then go seek your aunt. Go to your cousin. Why come to me?" My mother sighed. "Linling, in our earlier years, we were indeed at fault for our favoritism. However, your cousin has passed away. The deceased must be respected. Your aunt's family has long absconded with the silver, and I am left with no choice but to implore you. Only you can intercede with your father." I exhaled a heavy sigh, rising in resignation. I could not bring myself to ignore them. I made my way to the small treasury prepared for me by Gu Qinbei. This was his gift, his entire fortune, untouched until now. Upon opening it, I was taken aback to find a porcelain doll within. I picked it up and examined it closely. It was indeed he. No wonder he knew so much about me. I casually handed 1,000 taels of silver to my mother. As your adopted daughter, this is all I can offer. I cannot assist further. Do not come to me again. I shall pretend I have no parents who exhibit such favoritism. With that, I hurried to Gu Qinbei's study. At that moment, he seemed engrossed in his work, wielding a brush to sketch. I could think of nothing else and rushed into his embrace. Gu Qinbei exclaimed with delight. What brings you here? You must be careful. Rushing like this could endanger the baby. I lifted the porcelain doll, saying, Is this you, you little snot? He beamed brilliantly. At last, you remember me. In our childhood at the temple, there had been a little boy who often cried, and I would always try to comfort him. Yet, he remained obstinate, crying incessantly. Eventually, I had no choice but to gift him my favorite porcelain doll. To my relief, he adored it and ceased his tears. We played for a while until he was taken away by his family. I only knew he was of noble lineage, unaware of his true identity. It turned out he was Gu Qinbei. I glanced at the table where he was sketching my portrait. It was a peculiar sensation to be cherished in someone as heart. 8 months later, the child was born, a boy. We named him Gu Lele, hoping he would find joy throughout his life. My father was later exiled 3,000 miles away to reside in a distant borderland, and my mother accompanied him. It is likely that we shall never meet again in this lifetime. I will safeguard my little family, choosing not to bear any more children or adopt. I will forever bestow my affection solely upon my one and only child. Thus shall my remaining days unfold, and it shall be enough. The end. Thank you for listening. We shall meet again in the next story.